National E-Workshop on Scholarship for University Students. All the dignitaries associated with this Mo Ga Shiksha Council, the esteemed resource person from the Aligarh University, ex-member secretary, the different research scholars from the country, different corner of the country, and academicians, students, all are welcome to this platform. Before start of this program, we, with the prayer of Omkar, will start this. Namaskar. Vivekananda told, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So this is the universal version, and every students and the people of the country also have a mission to go ahead to reach his goals. So on this platform, Swami Vivekananda Lok Sansad, which is a constituent organization, non-profitable organization looking after the growth of the society and a partner of development aspects to make the sensitization about the universalization concepts. And Moga Education Council is one of the constituent of Swami Vivekananda Lok Sanshad Odisha, is looking after this one-day workshop. On this platform, I requested our Minakatan Bhai, the Associate Professor in Economics, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and convener of this Moga Education Council, to welcome the participants, the resource person, and brief about the program of today's workshop. Minakatan Bhai, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Bhai. Good morning to everyone and those who are present for this workshop. The motive of this doing this workshop is to basically to create a awareness among students, particularly research scholars. So what are these fellowship and funding opportunity available, particularly in social science? So with this objective keeping in mind, we have organized this Moga Shiksha Research, which is a part of our this Swami Vivekananda Lok Sansad. So Dr. Sarangi has already explained the motive of our organizations broadly. This is we are working on 4 different components for the development of the society. So we are giving emphasis on one is on education, another component we are working on health, and the third component we are working on women empowerment, and the fourth component we are working on this environment. So broadly, with this education wing, so broadly we are doing different activity in the banner of Swami Vivekananda Lok Sansad. So in that we have discourse, we have skill and training, we have counseling, and also we have skill development, and also we have there is a wing on fellowship. particularly for this marginalized section of the society. So keeping on this background, we have organized this workshop. So we have with us very fortunate, we have Professor Upendra Chaudhary. He's given his valuable time for this noble contribution that we are doing. I am thankful to Professor Upendra Chaudhary giving us his valuable time to us to spare some times with our participant. Professor, if I will say about Professor Upendra Chaudhary, Upendra Chaudhary is working as a professor in International Studies Department of Political Science, Aligarh Muslim University. And he got his PhD from CPS, School of Social Science, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Yeah, Professor Chaudhary. And the interesting features of Professor Chaudhary was that he was the director and also member secretary of Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi, from year 2014 to 2019. And if you go for in terms of these, he has one book on this nuclear risk reductions measures in South Asia problems and prospects, and also contributed huge number of articles both in national and international journals. That published, if you go for the United States, United Kingdom, Bangladesh, Australia, Singapore, many places. And also he has contributed in terms of these newspaper articles, in terms of Hindu Times, Deccan. So many contributions are there. And also Professor Chaudhary has contributed in terms of research, particularly the domain of, if you go for Professor Chaudhary, domain of research in terms of international studies with a specific focus on Indo-Pacific region. And he completed many independent research projects and also given, I think, huge number of lectures, both in India, different parts of the country, as well as outside the country. If you go for, I think, huge number of lectures starting from USA, UK, Russia, Germany, Canada, Australia, and many more states he has visited to deliver the lecture. And also he has contributed lots of, in terms of journal editor in the African Journal of Political Science and International Relations, and also editorial boards of Indian Journal of Politics, and many more. So we are, so many other things are there, so I am not going for details. So I think I should be thankful Professor Chaudhary for giving us his valuable time, busy time. I understand today is Sunday, though he's busy, but he has agreed to be given this lecture. So with these words, I think I am now requesting Professor Chaudhary to give his lecture. And I hope this one-day workshop will be very useful for our students. And so I think, so I just, I think Professor Upendra Chaudhary will speak 1 hour on this particular issue, the funding opportunity and this in the social science. And then maybe we'll go for half an hour discussions, any clarifications that students have. Then accordingly we will proceed. So now I request Professor Chaudhary to address, to share his experience and all other things to our participants. So thank you, sir.
Good morning, all of you. Dr. Behera, first of all, thank you for inviting me, for sharing my experience and expertise with the young friends. I must say young friends, because you know, you are all either doing masters or you are going to do PhD in future. And everybody, when we used to study, or Dr. Behera used to study, we were not aware of all the funding opportunities. We were asking our teachers, friends, where where we have to get the fellowship, where you have to get the scholarship. But nowadays, at least you are fortunate that you are living in this Twitter generation, Facebook generation. You don't have the problem. But there are certain things which you must know, and that is, I think, possible only when you go through expert lectures. So I will share my experience. Basically, as Dr. Behera mentioned, that I work in that Indian Council of Social Science Research. And from that experience, I will share my expertise and experience where you will get funding and what kind of funding opportunities are there. So I think everybody is comfortable with my language. There is no need to be bilingual. Everybody is fine with English, or should I speak in Hindi, English, both? So what is because I don't think, the most important thing is I have to connect with yourself, not the language, right? So are you all?
It's pretty good, sir. Please continue in English.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Okay. So before saying anything about the funding opportunities, let me share with all of you about the 5 major changes that is taking place in the arena of research, right? Even if you are master students, so next year you will do PhD, and even if you are PhD, you will be doing postdoc or maybe entering into academics. So everybody should know how the research scenario, both within the country and outside the country, is changing. And once we are aware of all those developments, that makes our task easy to apply and get the funding, right? The first major change that you can see or experience is the shift from multidisciplinary research to transdisciplinary research, right? The first major change, I must say, is the shift from multidisciplinary research to transdisciplinary research, right? Earlier, in 50s and 60s, people focused mainly on disciplinary research. You are doing research in economics, you never thought it is important to know what is going on in political science, in sociology, in anthropology, or in psychology, right? That was basically disciplinary research because you focused only on your discipline. In 70s and 80s, mostly people talked about interdisciplinary research. That is, you have to know what is going on in the other subject, especially the related subject. If you are in political science, you must know what is happening in economics, what is happening in sociology. So that was, when you focused on the other subject, but that was related to your subject, that was called what is called interdisciplinary research. Then people talked of multidisciplinary research that was related to your subject, but that was confined to more than 2 subjects, right? That was confined to more than 2 subjects. So more than 2, multidisciplinary, right? More than 1, interdisciplinary. And when you focused on your own subject, that was called disciplinary. But nowadays you will find that there is a shift from this multidisciplinary to transdisciplinary research. And when I'm focusing on transdisciplinary research, I basically mean that there are 2 main characteristics that characterize what is called transdisciplinary research, right? The first is we are now talking of unity of knowledge. And when we're talking of unity of knowledge, we are not thinking of the artificial boundaries that divide the subjects like, history, political science, social science with medical science, medical science with engineering with agriculture science, agriculture science with social science. So there is no artificial boundaries between the subjects and among the disciplines, right? So when I'm talking of unity of knowledge, I am talking of the importance that is giving on knowledge production rather than artificial boundaries. And once you don't think of subjects in terms of artificial boundaries, then you focus on what is called comprehensive knowledge, or what is called unity of knowledge, right? So that means transdisciplinary research basically focuses on the first thing, that is called unity of knowledge or comprehensive knowledge. And negatively, it means that removal of all the artificial boundaries that existed between different subjects among different subjects, right? This was one thing. The second is, the use of theories, methods, and tools of data collection, research tools, techniques, and theories from one discipline to the other discipline. If there is something good in medical science, the social science people can borrow it. If there is something good in natural science, the social science people can borrow it. And if there is something good in social science, the other people can also borrow it, right? I will give a small example of, systems research, right? System theory, what you call system theory in political science. It originated from biology, came to sociology and anthropology. Then it was popularized both in political theory and in international relations and called systems theory, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if there is some theoretical advancement, conceptual improvement, or some techniques of data collection which are good in medical science or in natural science or in social science, so these researchers, the academics can borrow from each other and get the benefit, right? So that is what is called transdisciplinary research, focusing first on knowledge production from a comprehensive perspective, or what I call unity of knowledge. The second is the borrowing of research tools, techniques, and theories and methods from one discipline to other, one faculty to the other, right? Nowadays, all funding councils, both within the country and outside the country, they are focusing on this transdisciplinary research. And if you want to apply for any funding from any funding agency, either from within the country or outside, you have to think in terms of transdisciplinary research, not just be limited to your discipline. You must know what is happening beyond your discipline, what is happening beyond your house, what is happening beyond your country, what is happening beyond your state. That is how we have to understand the importance of transdisciplinary research. Is that clear to everyone? What is called transdisciplinary research? सभी को समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I said two things: unity of knowledge and borrowing theories, concepts, and methodologies from one discipline to the other discipline, if they are good, or if there can be a slight modification, right? I had given you the example of system theory, which originated in biology, ended in political science, right? The COVID is the best example of transdisciplinary research. COVID is the best example. There is a sociological aspect of COVID. There is a politics behind COVID. There is a psychological aspect to COVID. There is a medical aspect. When we're talking of Omicron, when we're talking of Delta, Alpha, Beta, this type of virus, that kind of virus, we're talking of vaccine development, vaccine production. So this is all about medical aspect or medical angle of COVID. When we're talking of lockdown, when talking of slowing down of GDP rate, when we're talking of unemployment, we're talking of poverty, we're talking of the economic aspect of COVID. When we're talking of the politics behind the origin of COVID, when one president of America lost the presidential election to Joe Biden, I'm talking of Donald Trump, when there is a vaccine nationalism, when there is a politics behind distribution of vaccine, we're talking of the political aspects of COVID or the political dimensions of COVID. When we're talking of social distancing, when we're talking of COVID appropriate behavior, when we're talking of the role of religion and culture in the spread of COVID, we are talking of the sociology of COVID, right? We are talking of trauma, we are talking of mental illness, we are talking of loneliness, we are talking of the death in the family and its impact, its economic and social impact or psychological impact on the remaining family members. We're talking of the psychology of COVID. There is also geography of COVID, why the people in America and Europe, lost, why Europe and America lost many lives than in comparison to Africa and Asia. So there is a change in the mortality rate because of continent to continent. You will find there is a difference in mortality rate. So that is a geography of COVID. So COVID is not just a medical problem. It is an economic problem. It is a sociological problem. It is an economic problem. It is a psychological problem. It is a political problem. It's a geographical problem. So there are many dimensions of COVID, many issues of COVID, right? So COVID is the best example of transdisciplinary research, and all funding councils are now encouraging the researchers, the students, to understand things from a multidisciplinary and also from a transdisciplinary perspective, right? And that is how the research scenario is changing, right? The second is, the change in the research agenda. The second major change is the change of research agenda. Earlier, we talked of, poverty, unemployment, malnutrition, urbanization, urban congestion, pollution, this problem, that problem. But nowadays, we are not talking of only problems, we are talking of issues and challenges, and we are addressing those issues from a transdisciplinary perspective, from a multidisciplinary perspective. I will just give a very small example. Earlier there was only economic dimension of poverty, right? Either poverty was measured through consumption or income. If you are not getting less than $1, you are poor. If you are not getting 2400 calories in the rural areas, you are poor, or 2100 calories in the urban area, you are poor, right? So poverty was mainly defined economically, either on the basis of your income or on the basis of your consumption pattern. But nowadays we are not thinking of poverty only in economic terms. We are thinking of social dimensions of poverty. We are thinking of identity issues related to poverty. We are thinking of politics behind poverty. We are talking of inequality. We are talking of not just poverty. We are talking of empowerment, taking into consideration all the factors, sociological factors, economic factors, political issues. So multi-dimensional parameters on poverty, right? And this is the first example how we are thinking of issues from a different perspective. Same issue is there, poverty is there, but we are not understanding poverty purely from economic perspective, or we are not understanding the issue of development just purely from economic perspective. There is a politics behind development. There is a sociological aspect to development. There is a scientific aspect to development. So development is not just an economic issue. It is a multi-dimensional issue, or it's a transdisciplinary issue. Similarly, if you think of smart cities, now we are talking of smart cities, smart governance, smart power, right? So the word smart has become very fashionable nowadays, and we are thinking of smart cities. And if you take the smart cities example, this is also a very transdisciplinary issue. Where you think of urbanization, you think of urban planning, you think of urban governance, you think of IT enabled services, government services. So it's the city problem, or the smart city is not just about development of the city, or the issue of urbanization is just there. You think of planning, you think of IT, you think of smart governance, you think of so many issues, and when you combine so many issues and look at a single issue, that becomes transdisciplinary, right? So now there is a change in the research agenda. If you think of international affairs, you will find that India is now demanding a major share in the governance of IMF and World Bank. In terms of its financial contribution, India is demanding a permanent seat in the UN Security Council. India is demanding major international role in disaster management, international solar alliance, energy governance, nuclear governance, WMD governance, governance related to global commons. So these issues have become important, and now all the funding councils are encouraging you to focus on these emerging issues, critical issues that is relevant to the country, that is relevant to address the social problems, national problems, and the funding is prioritized on this basis, that instead of the earlier dogmatic topic or boring topics, now you are thinking of emerging topics, issues of critical importance, issues that affect the governance of our country, that address the future of our country, and not just about our country, but also the whole planet as a whole. We're talking of planetary security. We're thinking of common security. We're thinking of comprehensive security, or we are thinking of the globe, our planet as a whole, right? So this is the change of perception, and accordingly, all the funding councils, if you think of any Indian funding council or any funding council located outside India, or foreign funding councils, they are all focusing on these issues. That it's not just relevant to one discipline or one country. It is relevant to the whole world, whole planet, or what we call global planet, right? So this is the second change. The third change, you will find that earlier we focused, if you think of all colleges and university, they were all focusing on teaching only. Nowadays, we are not just focusing on teaching, we are thinking of teaching and research. So earlier we think either this or that. Now we are thinking both are important. So teaching is important, research is important, and that's why, all the funding councils, they are encouraging the students right from the beginning. If you think of new education policy, research is encouraged right from graduation. So 1 year graduation is you have to study 1 year graduation extra for research, and 1 year will be reduced for masters, or 1 year you will get in PhD level when you do research. So research, the country, the whole world is now thinking of research, and research, the more early you start it, the more it is better for you as a researcher, right? So research is given priority, and the government of all over the world, all the international funding councils, all the national funding councils, if you think of ICCR, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, if you think of Indian Council of Social Science Social Science Research, if you think of Indian Council of Historical Research, if you think of Indian Council of Philosophical Research, if you think of ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, if you think of ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Relations, if you think of CSIR, all funding councils I named, they are all focusing on this, research. And that's why government is now encouraging not only research on transdisciplinary topic and emerging and critical issues, rather you should take research very seriously if you want to do something in the arena of research, in academics, or there are so many challenges facing our country, facing the globe, and it is our duty to do some research that will address those issues in a very pragmatic, time-bound manner, and that too in an efficient way, right? So this is the third change that is happening both within the country and outside. The next major change that you can find in the area of research is the shift from small data to big data, right? The shift from small data to big data, right? What is that? Earlier we preferred a small data because you have to go up from household to household and collect data in the pen or paper format, or maximum in the Excel sheet, right? And there were, you have to go for interview, you have to go for short field visits, and you have to meet the people, ask them questions, or you have a questionnaire with you, you had a Excel sheet with you, or you had so what I wanted to highlight is, you have to collect the data individually, and that was limited to households or individuals. And that was the data collection method was very simple, survey, household survey, questionnaire, schedule, this, that, interview. So the very small methods were used, very traditional methods were used to collect data. And once you collected those small data, you have to analyze that through, SPS, this method, that method, so that was limited to very, traditional way. But nowadays, the time has come that we are shifting from traditional, data collection or traditional data to big data. So what is this big data? The moment you switch on your mobile and connect to internet, you don't know, you are generating lots of gigabytes and terabytes of data on shopping, on social media, on banking, for availing any government services, and so many issues. So, once you on your laptop, once you connect with the internet, laptop, desktop, palm top, this, smart mobile phones, so they are all generating lots of gigabytes and terabytes of data, which are analyzed not by individuals, they are analyzed by machines, or there are sophisticated software packages like Python, R language, this method, data collection method, or that, so they are analyzed not by human beings, or by machines, powered by powerful, algorithms, and these algorithms are powerful and sophisticated, that they can do many things, many complex things in a very small and efficient way, right? So we are talking of Python nowadays. We're not of SPS. Now we are talking of R language. We are talking of Panda. We are talking of machine learning. So as the data collection methods are changing, data analysis methods are also changing. We're talking of data analytics. We're talking of data science. We're talking of artificial intelligence. We're talking of big data. We're talking of machine learning. So these changes, these things have changed the way you collect the data, you analyze the data, and you also apply this data to your research. So nowadays you will find that all funding councils, they are encouraging you to use innovative and sophisticated data collection methods and data analysis methods to establish your conclusion, to find out your research findings, or to prove your research or disapprove your research or nullify your research. So that is basically the shift from small data to big data. The last major shift you can see is what is called timely spend. Earlier you spend the money by limited period. 31st March you have to spend your money if you are doing a research project, if you are getting a scholarship. So everything has to be finished by the financial year, right? So money has to be spent by financial. Nowadays, all funding councils, they are requiring you to not only spend the money in time, rather what is the outcome of your research? What is the impact of your research? Who is benefited out of your research findings? Are you publishing some research papers? And if these research papers are published, are you published in UGC CARE listed journals or Scopus indexed journals, right? What is the citation value or what is the impact factor? Who is citing your research, right? So these things are taken seriously nowadays. So if you are doing, if you are getting JRF, it is not that you spend your money within that years, 5 years, or you submit your PhD thesis. Rather, you present the paper in international conferences, national conferences, publish the paper. These have become mandatory now, right? So not only just doing research is important, rather the outcome and impact of your research, that has been considered as important by all the funding councils and all the governments all over the world, right? So nowadays, everybody is encouraged to publish, everybody is encouraged to present the research findings. And as I said, so doing research is not just important, who is getting benefit out of your research, what is the impact factor of your research, what is the outcome of your research, what is the output of your research, they are all important. They have all become important. So these major changes, you have to understand when you think of about research, or when you think of in the arena of research, right? So with this, I will start the second part of my lecture, that is the different funding opportunities available for research. So just I wanted to know, is everybody clear about those 5 points? Let me just repeat, just for a minute I will repeat. First I said the shift from multidisciplinary research to transdisciplinary research. Second, I said there is a change in the research agenda. Third, I said shift from small data to big data. Next, I said not only research, but research outcome and outputs are also important. And next, I said research itself has become important over teaching, right? So teaching and research, both academics, both researchers, they are all expected to not only engage in teaching, but also do some research that will address the day-to-day problems, that will be good for knowledge production, knowledge dissemination, and knowledge application, right? So is everybody clear about this, what I said? सबको समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
बस सिर्फ एक को समझ में आ रहा है?
सर, रिसर्च एजेंडा के बारे में थोड़ा डाउट हो रहा है।
बताएं क्या डाउट है? क्या डाउट है बताएं?
वो एक्चुअली थोड़ा समझ में नहीं आया, दैट रिसर्च एजेंडा के बारे में थोड़ा बस।
Okay. Earlier we thought about very stagnating type of research agenda, very traditional topics, pollution, congestion, poverty, and we are looking at those issues singularly. Nowadays we are thinking not of challenges or problems, rather we are thinking of issues, right? We are thinking of smart cities, right? So smart city is not just about urbanization of a particular area. Rather, we are thinking of the urbanization along with urban planning, urban governance, IT enabled services. So we are thinking that issue from a very comprehensive perspective, and that too from a transdisciplinary angle, right? So now there is a change in the research agenda, in the sense that India is now emerging as the 5th largest economy of the world. It is the 3rd largest economy in Asia. And because the country is growing militarily, the country is growing economically, so there is a concurrent change in the research agenda, in the sense earlier we never thought of Africa, we never thought of Latin America, we never thought of Central Asia, We never thought of many other unexplored regions, but now we are focusing because our MNCs, our companies, they are trying to invest in those regions, and that is good for our country, right? So India is now thinking of IMF and World Bank. India is thinking of UN Security Council seat. India is thinking a major role in the global governance architecture. India is now demanding more influence in different parts of the world. Nobody can think of global solution without the active participation of India, as you would have seen in the recent Glasgow summit, climate change summit on Glasgow, right? So new issues, new agendas, they have emerged, and this emerged because of the change in India's emergence as a major power, as a global power, right? So if you emerge as a rich person, you face different challenges. If you are poor, you face different challenges. That is the simple answer to it, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So any other problem related to these 5 issues? Okay. If you don't have any other problem, we will proceed to the next part. That is what is called funding. Right? So I suppose all are masters or PhD students, right? You are all are either master students or PhD students. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you think of ICSSR, first let me start with ICSSR, Indian Council of Social Science Research. The first scholarship given by ICSSR to any student is the doctoral fellowship, right? So if you are not qualifying JRF, right? If you are not fortunate enough to get JRF, and if you are NET qualified or SET qualified, you can think of doing research. For PhD, there are 3 types of scholarship, right? The first is, you can, if you write NET JRF exam and get JRF, so you can get a scholarship from the UGC for 5 years. Earlier it was for MPhil 2 years and PhD 3 years. Nowadays it is for 5 years because there is no MPhil. So in that case, if you write JRF and get JRF, you get scholarship for 5 years from UGC, right? If you just don't go qualify JRF, but you qualified NET or SLATE at the state level, there are lectureship eligibility tests. So if you qualify that, you can apply to ICSSR for funding, right? ICSSR for funding for doctoral fellowship. But the difference between UGC JRF and ICSSR fellowship is that, there is a difference not only in terms of scholarship, but there is also a difference in terms of duration of the scholarship. UGC gives it for 5 years, ICSSR gives it for 2 years only, right? Only for 2 years, right? And the third funding is if you are enrolled in a PhD program in any central university, you get a non-net fellowship. That is of 8,000 rupees per month if you do PhD for funding, right? So if you apply for funding, if you get 2 years from ICSSR. If you apply for history, it is Indian Council of Historical Research. If you are trying for a fellowship in philosophy, you can apply for ICPR, Indian Council of Philosophical Research. So on the one hand, you have UGC JRF, the other hand, you have ICSSR doctoral fellowship. And if you are not fortunate enough to apply for ICSSR fellowship or JRF, you can apply for doing your PhD in a central university where you get non-net fellowship of 8,000 rupees. Yes, somebody has asked me whether somebody can reappear for ICSSR doctoral fellowship. Yes, reappear is not the correct word because there is no examination for applying for ICSSR doctoral fellowship, because only selection is made on the basis of your research proposal or PhD synopsis, and you must register yourself for a PhD program in any Indian university, right? These are the 2 conditions. So reappear, suppose you miss the chance this year, you can apply next year, right? So ICSSR gives 3 kinds of doctoral fellowship. The one is called the centrally sponsored doctoral fellowship. The first doctoral fellowship given by ICSSR is called the centrally sponsored doctoral fellowship, that is given for 2 years, and the scholarship amount is 21,000 rupees per month, right? 21,000 you get as scholarship per month, and it is for 2 years only, right? It is for 2 years only. So you get a scholarship for 2 years, and that too, that too from ICSR, right? So in that sense, it is no, the scholarship is 20,000 rupees and the contingency is 20,000, right? So contingency means, these are research expenses that is given each year to a student. So contingency grant is 20,000 rupees and the scholarship amount is 20,000 rupees, right? On the other hand, you get 28,000 rupees for JRF and 31,000 for SRF from UGC, right? As I said, there are two major differences between ICSR doctoral fellowship and the JRF given by the UGC. And in the JRF, you get for 5 years, and in ICSR, you get only for 2 years. And in the ICSR case, the scholarship is only 20,000, remains stagnant for 2 years, right? But in UGC, you get 28,000 per month for 2 years, that is called JRF. And for senior research fellowship, you get 31,000 per month, along with other expenses like house rent, this and that. So you get so many things about that, right? So this is, the centrally sponsored doctoral fellowship. For that, you have to apply to the ICSSR headquarters located in New Delhi, right? So this is one thing. The second is called your short-term doctoral fellowship, that is given for 6 months only, right? Short-term doctoral fellowship is given for 6 months only. And suppose you are in the advanced stage of your research and you didn't get any funding from anywhere, or you didn't get any scholarship from anywhere. So in that case, you can apply for ICSR short-term fellowship. The scholarship amount is 20,000, but it will remain valid for only 6 months. Right? As I said, it is only given at the time when you are in the advanced stage of your research. Right? So this is one thing. Second, you get 20,000 per month for 6 months and contingency grant of 20,000 only. Right? So this is the second fellowship that is given by the ICSR headquarters. The third is called contingency grant, right? Somebody is asking what is doctoral fellowship. I will take up the questions afterwards. It is given for doing PhD. So once you do your master's, if you want to pursue a career in research, so you have to do PhD. PhD, the art of training you in the arena of research. So art of training in the arena of research. So if you want to make a career in academics or in research, you have to do PhD, and that is what is called doctoral research, right? So this is the second fellowship. This is called short-term doctoral fellowship. The third is called contingency grant, where when you are about to submit your PhD thesis for typing, for binding, for some stationery related work, you have to do it for thesis submission, and at that time you get only 50,000 lump sum rupees by the ICSR for submitting your PhD thesis, right? So these three fellowships, centrally sponsored doctoral fellowship, senior fellowship, centrally sponsored fellowship, then short-term fellowship, and the third is called your contingency grant. These are given by the ICSR headquarters. The fourth doctoral fellowship is called institutional doctoral fellowship, that is given by one of the 24 research institutes of ICSSR located in different parts of the country, right? So, you must have heard about Giri Institute, this ANC9 Institute, Patna, and so many other institutes of ICSSR located in different states of India. And in that case, you have to apply to those institutions if you are interested to do doctoral research in those institutes. The fellowship is given by the ICSSR, but the selection is made by those research institutes, right? So basically, you will get your doctoral fellowship either from ICSR headquarters, which gives these kinds of doctoral fellowship, or by the ICSR Research Institute, that is given by any of the ICSR research institutes, right? So these are the, in fact, 4 types of doctoral fellowship. Institutional doctoral fellowship given by any of the ICSR research institutes, and there are 24 at present, and you can apply for any or that kind of fellowship. Just give me just a minute. right? The second, as I said, the second fellowship, I said, is given by the ICSR headquarter. The ICSR headquarter gives three kinds of fellowship: centrally sponsored, short term, and the contingency grant, right? So if you are doing PhD, you can think of this either the UGC, that for that you have to write JRF NET exam, but if you qualify JRF only, then you will get both JRF and SRF for 5 years. But if you don't qualify JRF, you can still apply to ICSSR, the Indian Council of Historical Research, for doing research in history, the Indian Council of Philosophical Research, that is given for philosophy. So, right, or you can enroll yourself in any of the central universities for doing your PhD. In that case, you get a non-net fellowship of 8,000 rupees per month, right? So that is about the doctoral fellowship. If you are about to finish your doctoral fellowship or doctoral research and you want to do PDF, postdoctoral fellowship, then you can apply still to the ICSSR, and that is the ICSR doctoral fellowship is the postdoctoral fellowship is given once you are awarded your PhD, once you are awarded in the PhD, right? So if you are awarded PhD, you can apply to ICSR postdoctoral fellowship. That is again given for 2 years only, and the scholarship is 31,000 and the contingency is 25,000, right? So it is unlike the UGC fellowship, the duration is 2 years there, but the fellowship amount is about 38,000 per month, and sometimes 40,000 per month. It varies from fellowship to fellowship in UGC, but it is not less than 38,000 by the UGC. But in ICSR case, you get 31,000 per month plus 2 years. Your scholarship duration is 2 years. But for that to apply, you have to apply through proper channel, and you should get your application forwarded by a university where you intend to get yourself affiliated after PDF. And for that, you have to, the minimum eligibility for doctoral fellowship is 40 years for general caste and 45 years for PDF, and 5-year relaxation is given for SC/ST candidates, right? So age limit for doctoral fellowship in ICSR case is 40 for general caste, 5-year relaxation for SC/ST. PDF, it is 45 years plus 5 years for SC/ST relaxation, right? So that is the age limit. Each year ICSR advertises mostly in June, July, and there was some problem related to the application during COVID, but normally the deadline is there is a reservation for PWD, physically challenged students. That relaxation is there, but except SC/ST and physically challenged students, no other reservation is allowed in ICSSR, right? Not for economically weaker sections, not for females, nothing, no relaxation is there. Only SC/ST and physically challenged candidates, they can get the benefit of reservation from ICSR during the selection for for doctoral research or for PDF, right? So for PDF, you should be not more than 45 for general caste and 5-year relaxation for SC/ST and physically challenged candidates, right? The scholarship, as I said, is 31,000 per month and 25,000 as contingency payable at the end of each year. That is for given for research expenses, right? So these two scholarships, right? The ICSSR doctoral fellowship and the ICSR postdoctoral fellowship, that is meant for you. Once you become an assistant professor or you become a senior researcher, there are so many other funding opportunities for you in the ICSSR, right? So this is all about the ICSSR. In case you want to know anything very specific about the ICSSR funding, I can share that during our discussion, because you are all masters or PhD students. So these two funding related to your scholarship is given by the ICSSR for you. The other funding you can get from ICSSR is what is called International Collaboration Grant. International Collaboration Grant, where if you are a PhD enrolled student or doing your PhD in any Indian university, you can apply for funding from ICSSR for presenting a paper in any international seminar. held outside India. So right, if you are doing your PhD in any university, there are 4 types of universities. One is the central university, the other is state university, third is deemed to be university, fourth is private university. So if you are doing PhD in any Indian university or colleges, you can apply for funding from ICSR for presenting a paper in the international seminar, right? Right, and all your expenses, including airfare, hotel expenses, food expenses, visa fee, medical insurance, local conveyance, registration fee, everything is given by the ICSR. And as a student of PhD or as a faculty, if you are selected as a faculty, you can apply for this international seminar grant given by the ICSR, right? So there is no time limit to apply, but you must send your application before 3 months of the actual visit. That is the processing time required by the ICSSR, right? So that is one thing. The second is, if you are doing your research on any topic related to a foreign country, and you want to collect data from a foreign country as a part of your research, so you can apply to ICSR for this research visit or data collection grant, and this is given for 15 days to 1 month by the ICSR. There is no time limit to apply. There is no deadline to apply. You can apply anytime you like, but your applications to ICSSR should come before 3 months, because that is the processing time required for submitting your this data collection grant, right? So this is for PhD students. If you are doing PDF, you are doing PhD, you can apply. Master students are not eligible to apply for these 2 types of grants. And these grants, if you want to apply for this type of grants, you can submit your application online, and you have to give a tentative budget of how much money exactly you need, along with the detailed paper and the invitation about the conference or where exactly you want to visit for data collection. And this should be submitted along with your online copy of the application, right? So these are needed for getting ICSR grant, either for presenting a paper in an international seminar or for collecting data from a foreign country, right? So these are mostly grants for the PhD students and above, PhD and above, not for master students. As I said it right in the beginning, there is no scholarship for master students in ICSSR, right? That you can get from UGC, and UGC gives different kinds of scholarship to the master students. First, you can see there is a scholarship called PG Merit Scholarship for university rank holders, right? Those who get at least 60% marks and they do good in their university ranking in the graduation, they can apply for this PG Merit Scholarship for university rank holders. And the age limit is 30, and fellowship amount is 3,100 per month, right? So this fellowship is given for university rank holders at the undergraduate level, and for that you have to do masters. You have to do masters and get the fellowship, right? Without doing masters, you will not get anything. So you have to do this, and this PG Merit Scholarship is given by the University Grants Commission, and this is given to the university rank holders, at least those who score 60% and above marks at their graduation level, right? The second, scholarship given by the UGC is called PG Scholarship for Professional Courses, right? This PG Merit Scholarship is given for non-professional courses, but if you do professional courses like basically for MTech program or a ME program or any such professional courses, then you can apply for PG Scholarship for professional courses. Basically, this scholarship is given for ACST candidates, and it is given for 2 years. The scholarship limit is 7,800 per month for ME and MTech program, and 4,700 per month, 4,700 per month for others. So if you are not doing ME or MTech, then you can get a scholarship for doing professional courses in any Indian university, and this scholarship is given by the UGC, and it is 7,800 per month for ME and MTech student, and 4,700 for others, those who are not doing either ME or MTech but doing some other professional courses, right? So So this scholarship is basically given for SC/ST students, right? The third is called PG scholarship for single girl child, right? The UGC gives another fellowship for doing masters, and it is given for the single girl child, right? And this is, the age limit is up to 30, right? You can apply for this single girl child scholarship from the UGC only when you are doing your master's first year, right? In second year, you are not eligible. So if you are doing your first year master's, then you can apply for this PG scholarship for single girl child, and you get 2,000 rupees per month for 20 months only, right? It is not a for full-fledged 2-year scholarship. Rather, you get 10 months scholarship each year, and this scholarship is given if you are the only girl child of your only child. Only girl child doesn't mean you have a brother and you are the only girl. Girl child means only you are the only child of your parents, right? There's a lot of confusion about that. So those who are the only girl or only child, girl child of your parents, then you can apply for this fellowship. And this is basically called PG scholarship for single girl child, right? The next is called the earlier it was called Rajiv Gandhi SC/ST fellowship. This was done for doing MPhil and PhD. Now it is called SC/ST fellowship, basically for MPhil and PhD. 25,000 per month for JRF for 2 years, 28,000 for SRF for 3 years, right? So under the SC/ST fellowship, you will be given scholarship for doing either MPhil or PhD for 5 years, and the scholarship amount is different for JRF and SRF. For JRF, it is 25,000 per month, and for SRF, you get 28,000 per month. And except this scholarship, there is no other allowances that is applicable to you for this, right? Next is if you are not SC/ST, but you come under minorities like Sikhs, like Jains, like Muslims, like Christians. So, and if you are coming under the minority category, you can apply to this Maulana Azad National Fellowship. This is given for minority students, again for doing MPhil or PhD for 5 years. But the scholarship amount is here a little bigger than the SC/ST Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship. That is 31,000 per month for JRF and 35,000 for SRF. So 31,000 for JRF and 35,000 for SRF. And if you are belonging to any minority community, you can apply for this fellowship. This is given by the given by the UGC for doing MPhil and PhD research, right? So this is also a very popular fellowship scheme by the UGC, because the government is now thinking of restructuring the UGC. So there is a lot of discontinuity among all these fellowships. In the PDF scholarship are almost suspended. Research projects are not given. So, except this NET JRF type of exams conducted by the UGC, which is important for determining your eligibility for your lectureship. So all other scholarship, they are not given in time. So you should be very prepared for this when you are applying for this. So the UGC gives this kind of fellowship. There is also fellowship for Northeastern students, right? So that you can apply if you belong to any of the 7 sisters of Northeast. That is given for master's level, right? There are other scholarships like Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, but they are now, this Dr. S. Radhakrishnan fellowship is given for doing postdoctoral research in social science, but these are suspended now, right? So UGC fellowships are, except this NET JRF, all fellowships are, they are not given in time. So you should be very prepared when you think of UGC as a funding agency, right? Except this, UGC and ICSSR, as I said, you can also apply for funding for scholarship. If you are doing PhD in philosophy or in history, you can apply for history to Indian Council of Historical Research. And if you are applying for philosophy, you can apply to ICPR, Indian Council of Philosophical Research, right? They are also giving fellowship same on same terms and condition as given by ICSSR, right? So these are the scholarships you can avail. But as I said, for doing your field visits, if you are doing PhD and you want to do a field visit within the country, so you can do it with a small grant from ICSR. There are 6 regional centers of ICSSR, right? There are 6 regional centers of ICSSR. One is called the Northern Regional Center, located in Jawaharlal Nehru University, right? Those who are doing PhD, those who are doing research, or those who are faculties in Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, they can apply for a small grant from the Northern Regional Center located in Jawaharlal Nehru University. Those who are working in Haryana, Punjab, Himachal, Chandigarh, and Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, they can apply to Northwestern Regional Center located in Punjab University, Chandigarh, right? So this gives small grants, 20,000, 25,000 for doing your PhD field trip, right? They are giving. And if you are located in Gujarat or Goa or Maharashtra, so Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa faculties and researchers, they can apply to ICSR's Western Regional Center located in the University of Mumbai, right? And if you are a student of South India, right, you can apply to the Southern Regional Center located in the Osmania University, right? That is ICSR Regional Center. So you can apply to those regional centers for your field research in any of the parts of the country, but you can apply only to your regional center. Then we have a regional center called Eastern Regional Center located in Kolkata. If you are from Odisha, if you are from Bengal, if you are from Bihar or Jharkhand, you can apply for a small research grant from those regional center. And if you are working in Northeast, you can apply to the Northeastern Regional Center located in the NEHU, that takes care of the research needs of the PhD students. You can use a small grant from them. You can stay in the guest house. You can consult the local faculty. You can have access to the library. You can have access to the local resources. So basically, you can apply for not just a small grant, but also for staying in their guest house. That is in a very nominal, and there is no fee for PhD students. So students, either they are charged nominally or they don't have to pay anything. You can have to access their library. You can interact with the faculty. You can apply for a small research grant. As I said, all the 6 regional centers of ICSSR are located in different parts of the country. And if you do research in a particular state, you have to see where you belong to, or which regional center you belong to, and you have to apply only to that regional center. As I said, each regional center has a clear-cut jurisdiction, and if you want, you can apply and get the benefit of research funding for doing your field trip during the PhD work, right? If you want to get funding for international data collection, as I said, you can apply to ICSSR. Sometimes the ICHR also gives some funding for doing your field trip outside India, and also the same case applies to ICPR, right? So if you are doing philosophy or history research, you want to collect data from a foreign country, you can apply to ICPR or ICHR. But for most cases, if you are not coming from history or philosophy, even history and philosophy people can also apply for ICSR seminar grant and data collection grant that takes care of your everything, starting from 15 days to 1 month. You can go to a foreign country to collect data, and all your expenses are covered under the ICSR scheme, right? So basically, these are the funding opportunities. So as I said, whenever you are applying for funding, just there are different information is there. You can apply, but before applying, you have to see the relevant program of ICSR or ICPR or any of the funding council. You have to check the guidelines. Sometimes these guidelines are changed, so then only you can apply, right? And if you want to also apply for other funding agencies like ICPR or ICHR, so it is always better to visit their website. And ICSR website is available at www.icsr.org. So you can, suppose you want to apply for fellowship, you have to go to the fellowship section. And sometimes if you want to apply for a seminar, grant for availing or for presenting a paper in any international seminar, you can also go to the seminar section. So that is up to you. And in addition to that, if you want to know much about funding or more about ICSR funding opportunities, there is a YouTube channel called Rebooting Master Science. Rebooting Master Science. You can visit that channel for more, updated information about the ICSR funding and funding in the foreign countries, right? So this is all about. So in case you want to know any specific thing about ICSR or UGC, so you can ask me, or you can ask, write the questions, and Dr. Meenakattan Behera will moderate those questions, and we'll have a discussion on that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, thank you, sir. I think, so now it is the time for, if you have any question, clarifications, you just unmute yourself and you just ask the questions. Otherwise, you can write in the chat box. Okay, so now the floor is open. Yeah. So I think they have some questions. They have, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, sir, one question is there by Gayatri Sahu. So Gayatri Sahu mentioned that good morning to one and all. I just wanted to know, are the central government institutions like IIT, NIT running lacks of fund? I have observed that in most of the cases, they are selecting scholars who have been selected for any fellowship like JRF, National Fellowship, etc. Kindly share your opinion on that.
No, I would suggest that, it is partially true that, for the last 2 years, because of COVID, there is a problem for funding. Even ICSR, whose budget was 750 crore rupees for the last 6-7 years, it has been reduced to 100 crore, right? So there is a problem. We do admit that there is a problem, but I think this problem is only temporary, right? It's not, nowadays the country's economy is growing, and Dr. Behera will share with his economic expertise that, things are not as bad as we faced for the last 2 years. So things are improving. And I think, there are funding problems, but, that is only a temporary problem. But, ICSR has, in this year, ICSR has advertised for doctoral fellowship, postdoctoral fellowship, research projects, the seminar grant, international data collection grant. This was suspended last year. So nowadays, so there has been normal, and JRF NET exams are conducted even after long delay. So it is not lately conducted because of funding, rather it was late because of COVID concerns, right? So things are becoming normal now, and let us hope if the Omicron, this Omicron problem is not there, I think things will become normal.
Sir, one student has given Vijay Sridas. He's written that what is the meaning of a doctoral fellowship?
For doing doctoral research, that is the meaning. You have to do doctoral research and for PhD.
Yeah, basically for PhD. Yeah. So yeah.
And I said the purpose of doing PhD is to train you in the art of research, right? The purpose of doing PhD is to train you in the art of research, how you have to collect data, how you have to analyze the data, how you have to utilize that data in your research, what is hypothesis, what are research objectives, how to write a research proposal. So these things you are trained in the art of research. And for doing that, the different funding agencies are giving doctoral fellowship or called PhD fellowship.
Yes, sir, someone is asking that question, Vijaya Sridas. She's asking, is there any scholarship for PWD?
Yes, they know it is there both by the UGC and ICSSR. So they are given weightage. It depends on the number of applicants, right? But they are definitely given special treatment when there is a selection, and this treatment is given to both SC candidates, ST candidates, and for PW candidates.
Someone has Tsunami has written, sir, how many fellowship for MA students and how can it can be applied?
MA students given by ICSR or UGC?
Both. They have not.
I made it very clear in the beginning that ICSR doesn't give any fellowship for master students, right? ICSR fellowship starts for doctoral research only. And for UGC, I said, there are PG merit scholarship for university rank holders, Indira Gandhi Girl Child Fellowship, so and so fellowship. So you have to, if you want to know exact number of fellowships and, duration, all this, you can visit ICSR website and see that there are 3 sections. One is for teachers, one is for institutions, and one is for students. So you better visit the student section of UGC and you will find the exact information available in their website. For ICSR, the doctoral fellowship is 483, it goes up to 500. Okay, ICSR gives 500 doctoral fellowship each year. The exact number is 483, but it can go up to 500.
Okay, some students has mentioned to Swami Vivekananda scholarship for PhD student, single girl child. So how can we will avail it, and nothing has been uploaded in the website for last 1 year?
I made it very clear right in the beginning that the UGC is now, it is under the plan to restructure. The government of India is planning to restructure UGC, and that's why the funding is not very clear. They are not regularly advertising what they should do, and all the guidelines, the information, they are not very updated, right? So you have to wait for some more time to know exactly the exact information related to a particular fellowship.
Sir, you please share the YouTube channel that you mentioned for the fellowship information.
I will, but I would suggest that all the participants, you write your email address, or I can avail it from Dr. Minakathan Behera, and the channel name is Rebooting Master Science. I'm just writing it, Rebooting Master Science. You will get information, funding related information, both from within India and outside India from this channel. This is called Rebooting Master Science, right? And I will ask Dr. Behera after the lecture to share the email address of all the participants so that I can give some share with some information related to funding both within and outside India for doing research. Okay, that we can get.
If someone has written that if we are beneficiary of JRF, can we apply for ICSR scholarship?
No, if we are getting JRF, you can't get, because you are getting it for 5 years from UGC with higher scholarship amount. How can you apply for a lower amount from ICSR for 2 years only?
Maybe suppose in that context I need one clarification. Suppose I have opted for a fellowship, but I for JRF for 2 years. But after that, because of I have not get a seat for maybe registration or all formality. So can I apply again, discontinue that, and I can apply for ICSR?
Yes, the answer is first, technically it is yes. If you are not getting JRF, you can apply to ICSR doctoral fellowship. But I would suggest you that because the scholarship amount and scholarship duration is higher in case of UGC, so try to get it from UGC. And it's not a very difficult problem to get a PhD enrollment in any of the institute. At any case, that is also a requirement for ICSSR.
Suppose another one clarification. Suppose I completed my 4 years or 5 years of JRF fellowship, and again after that, suppose if I want to apply.
If in 5 years you have not finished your PhD, what is the guarantee that you will finish that within 2 years of ICSSR doctoral fellowship? So once you got Maulana Azad, this Rajiv Gandhi fellowship and JRF for 5 years, and you have not finished your PhD, then you are not eligible as per the ICSR guidelines for applying for ICSR doctoral fellowship.
Someone has written, Neha Sharma has written that, sir, can you tell us how many postdoctoral fellowship are available for general students in the social science?
In ICSR case, it is 280.
Okay.
Right?
Savitri Behera is raising his hand. You just unmute maybe and you ask question. then I will give other questions are there. I will go to that questions. Yeah, Savitri, if you want to ask question, you unmute yourself and you just ask the questions. Savitri Behera, you just you have raised your hand. You unmute yourself and speak.
Savitri Behera has left the meeting. I think there may be some internet connection. We can take up some other questions, and once he joined, then we can discuss her question. Savitri has left the meeting. Dr. Behera, you are muted.
Supriya Das is asking question. Good morning, sir. I want to know about Indian Institute of Public Administration. Is there any provision of scholarship for MA students in public administration?
No. They are not giving anything, but you can get their library access and research material if you are doing PhD or even in master's level. But they are not giving any financial assistance for doing anything for PhD or for MA students.
So, sir, can you please tell us the scholarship opportunity for PDF in the foreign university?
There are, I already told you about that channel, Rebooting Master Science. There you will get the information through video format. But I will still repeat some of the things. If you want to do your postdoctoral research in the United States, there is a Nehru Fulbright Fellowship Foundation, right? Nehru Fulbright Fellowship Foundation. You can apply to that fellowship foundation. That is in the Haley Road in the New Delhi, near Connaught Place or Rajiv Chowk, you can say. So that is there. So if you want to do your research in United States for PhD, for postdoctoral research or for senior fellowship, you can apply to that, Jawaharlal Nehru Fulbright Fellowship Foundation. That is called USI in New Delhi, right? For doing research in any Commonwealth countries like UK, Canada, Australia, or any other, you can apply to Commonwealth Fellowship Foundation. Commonwealth Fellowship Foundation, that is meant for doing your research in any Commonwealth country, right? Basically for all the members of the Commonwealth, but prominently for Australia, UK, and Canada. Right? If you want to do research only in Australia, you can apply to the Australian Endeavour Fellowship. Australian Endeavour Fellowship. You can just click to Google and search Australian Government Endeavour Fellowship that is given for doing research in Australia. So for USA, it is Fulbright Fellowship. For UK, Canada, and Australia, it is Commonwealth Fellowship. For only Australia, it is Endeavour Fellowship for doing research in a foreign country.
Sir, can you tell something about more about the scholarship for the master program in abroad?
Master, that is Paul Wallace Foundation Fellowship, right? Paul Wallace Trust is there, that is given by the British Council, right? That is also in Rajiv Chowk. So this Paul Wallace Trust is giving fellowship for doing master's research in UK for that is basically meant for UK. And for masters, there are universities that is giving, that needs a separate lecture on this, where to get masters, because almost all fellowships which I mentioned about Commonwealth Fellowship or for this Endeavour Fellowship or for this Fulbright Fellowship, they are all meant for research. For masters, now you have to qualify certain exams. Suppose for doing masters in United States, you have to qualify their SIT, Scholarship Aptitude Test, SAT, that is called SAT, Scholarship Aptitude Test. You have to qualify this first, then you will be eligible for any particular course. And all universities are giving scholarship on their own independent way. And for that, sometimes you have to qualify TOEFL, you have to qualify this SAT, strategic, this Scholarship Aptitude Test. So they are individually given by the universities, but for the government program, I said most of them encourage you to do research in a foreign country. And as I said, they are basically given, the three prominent scholarships are given by Fulbright Foundation, Commonwealth Foundation, and the Endeavour Scholarship given by the Australian government.
Sir, can you tell something about how to apply Rajiv Gandhi Scholarship SC/ST category?
I said, this is almost, minority student can apply for Maulana Azad Fellowship. The SC/ST candidates can apply for this Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship. Earlier it was called Rajiv Gandhi, now it is called SC/ST Fellowship. And basically this is given for doing MPhil and PhD. It is given for 5 years. The scholarship amount is 25,000 for this JRF, Student Junior Research Fellowship, and 28,000 is given for the rest of the program, that is for 3 years SRF and 2 years JRF. And this fellowship is basically given to the SC/ST candidates, right? Unlike the Maulana Azad, that is given for minority students.
So, sir, can you tell something about those who are research scholars availing this field data collection?
I said, different, funding agencies are giving funds for, field research. ICSR, I mentioned, for 15 days to 1 month, you can visit a foreign country for collecting data. If that data collection is a part of your research, that you will not justify it post facto, right? So if your research topic is on a such a vital importance that it needs visiting a foreign country for data collection, because nowadays there is online, everything is available, so there should be sufficient academic justification for going to a foreign country. And if you are planning to visit one country for data collection, 2 or 3 countries for data collection, you can avail ICSR data collection grant for 15 days to 1 month. All your expenses will be covered. There is no deadline. You can apply anytime you like, but at least you should submit an online application along with a tentative research plan, also an invitation letter for visiting any foreign university or library for consultation to the ICSR 3 months of your actual visit.
Okay, so I think there is no other question in the chat box. I think those who have any questions, clarification, anything, if you want, mention the scholarship of scholarship in Sweden for PhD.
I said, Sweden government is now individually each government is giving some scholarship for doing this. Sweden, Norway, Finland. They're you have to see their Ministry of External Affairs. They are generally giving some scholarships. There are also priorities. Some are giving Indian to Indians, some are given to Chinese, some are given to South Asian in a block. So for doing PhD in an individual country, you have to apply to their Ministry of External Affairs that sponsors different kinds of scholarship for foreign students.
Yeah. So I think there is no Pradeep. Is there any other questions from the chat?
No, sir. This is all about what already been said. Any of students have any feedback or any of scholars after this question of session, any feedback they can directly share?
Yeah, so now yeah, just unmute yourself and speak. If anyone is I think no question. Anyone, please? Those who want to ask questions, just unmute yourself and ask.
I think if they don't have any specific question, I think you can share their email address with me. I will give them some PPT related to funding in foreign countries.
Okay, thank you, sir. Pradipta, what we'll do now?
Yes, sir. This is all about the scholarship available for master degree and PhD postdoctoral by the UGC, by ICSR, by any development institute inside India and outside India, elaborately discussed by Professor Upendra Chaudhary sir. I think many of our participants will be definitely have benefit about this information, and already sir extended the scope and opportunity to extend all kind of information to the mail ID. The mail ID is available, and Behera sir already will extend the copy to Upendra sir, and accordingly all students have the information about the scholarship as is required for them, who are eligible for UGC or who are eligible for ICSR, or who may extend for any individual university or institute providing different kind of financial assistance in shape of contingency as well as scholarship activities. So this is all about, and we on the a part of this program, I request our um, uh, Chittaranjan Nayak sir to give you observation and feedback about this program, and we will go ahead accordingly. Chittaranjan sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. And I should start with a special mention to Professor Upendra Chaudhary. So, SPLS expresses gratitude for your time, patience, and all the expertise, sir. So nice of you. So, I was waiting to uh, get the feedback of participants. Some of them were quite enthusiastic in knowing all these details. So what is available from which sources, what is the amount, what are the procedures, and still there are a few questions regarding availability of foreign funding for masters, for doctoral research, all these kind of things. So we may arrange another session for that later on. So dear friends, especially my young researchers and students, uh, what is needed actually, that we should stay connected. So it is a general observation that those students, scholars who stay in the vicinity of their teachers, in the direct guidance of their teachers, their seniors, scholars, institutions, they excel in their life. Therefore, only suggestion from our side, I being a teacher, so only suggestion is that please remain connected. Remain connected with your friends, with your teachers, with your senior friends, with scholars who are working in different institutions. Just visit the websites of different institutions, like Professor Chaudhary was telling about ICSSR. That's an excellent website for researchers, for students, for institutions. Everything is available there, and ICSSR is an institute which comes with invitations on regular basis. Some issues are there in UGC, so that we know it is in the restructural mode. So some things might be discontinued. Apart from that, there are foreign funding sources, Fulbright scholarship that was there, then London School of Economics, that Ratan Tata scholarship. Some specific types of scholarships are also available. So those who are eager and who are in the they want to be in the know of all these things, they really excel in their life. So on behalf of Swami Vivekananda Loka Sangsad, we thought this exercise is actually that thing. We thought we had an interaction, like Dr. Pradipta Sadang is here, Gangadhar Das sir is here, Madam Sanjukta Pandya, Professor Meenaketan Behera. We have some informal discussion in between us that what can we do for our students. So arranging such type of programs so that they will be expressing themselves, and they will also suggest what are the need, what are their specific needs, so that will give us some sort of satisfaction that uh, this is a small type of endeavor attempt for them. So therefore I tell that be connected, stay connected. So once again, I express my gratitude, my sincere regards to Professor Upendra Chaudhary, who spared his valuable time for this program. Now, we are highly obliged to you, sir. Thank you so much. And Dr. Meenaketan Behera, it is his actually own brainchild, the trust, the education wing, and planning of this sort of activities. And Dr. Pradipta always comes with um, some sort of organizational talent, organizational innovation. So all in the Moga Education Council deserve specific mention, and my best wishes to all the participants for whom for whose active cooperation this program became successful, and we will remain in touch. So it is over to you, Dr. Pradipta.
Thank you, sir. This is a collaborative approach, and we particularly have the expression of gratitude what already been mentioned before Professor Upendra Shah. Already he has mentioned all the kind of opportunity of scholarship by UGC, ICSR and institutes, and he also opened the eyes of our scholars who are on the verge of research or doctoral or postdoctoral research activities for the benefit of government as well as UGC, ICSR and other developmental institute. Will in touch with sir. And as regards this MOGA Education Council, who is looking forward towards a supplementing attitude to create a supplementing support to the existing system of education as well as development at the rural point, at the young mindset, so that this will be enlarged and open up the opportunity to avail any kind of things. At the last part, I may request our part of this program, vote of thanks. So also professionally, I request our Bipin Bhai to extend the vote of thanks once again to our esteemed resource person Upendra sir and others. But so this, I request Bipin Bhai to extend the vote of thanks. If Bipin Bhai is here, Bipin Kumar out, sir, please.
I think Bipin Bhai is not present. It may be handed. We may invite Gangadhar Das sir.
Gangadhar sir, please extend the vote of thanks to our resource person, participants, and organizer. Gangadhar sir, please.
Namaskar to all. Really, today is a great day for Swami Vivekananda Lokaparish Sansad, particularly Moga Education Council. At the very beginning, I am very much thankful on behalf of our Moga Education Council to Professor Upendra Chaudhary sir. Really, he is a great person who have opened the eyes of our research scholars. So also he has opened the eyes of all our participants also. Thanks to Professor Upendra Chaudhary sir, the great person who has not only the resource person, but also he has described very well regarding different aspects of our program for research scholars. He has mentioned how they can be benefited from UGC, NET, JRF, ICSSR, ICHR, ICPR, etc. What he has described about SC, ST students, girl child, single girl child learners for PhD, everything he has mentioned very clearly. So many thanks to Professor Upendra Chaudhary sir. So also on behalf of the council, I am thankful to Minaketan Behra sir and our Professor Sadangi sir for the nice organization of this program. Thanks to all our participants, scholars who aspire for PhD and who are undergoing PhD. I am thankful on behalf of our Lok Sansad. Thank you, sir. Particularly, again, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Upendra Chaudhary sir. Thank you all. Thanks for everything. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. On the last part of this ceremony, we have to enjoy the Santi Patha, then we will close this. Before Santi Patha, I also extend and all participants to be part of this council. This council is looking forward the development of the country as a whole as a supplementary non-profit organization. We are looking support system to all part of the people on different locations, and this is all India level we are working. So Odisha level we are specifically working for different activities on this way. So now thanks to all, and you may join with ourselves and you may connected. We are also extending the same cooperation from Professor Upendra sir. He will also connected in future. We may take the support of Upendra sir to enlighten our people in the light of education as well as the opportunity of these regards. So
Sure,
now
sir.
it is time for Santipat. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu
Niramaya.
Sarve bhadrani pasyantu man kaschid dukha bhag bhave. Om Santihi Santihi Santihi. Now request Minakatan sir to declare the closing of this program.
Yeah, so at last, I think I should give thanks to Pradeep, Indramani Bhai, and all the organizing team, starting from Professor Nityanand Pradhan, Gangadhar Sir, Amarendra, Vipin Bhai, and Pawan Bhai, and those who are here. So I think now we should close the meeting, and with the expectation that from Professor Upendra Chaudhary, in near future, I will take your help to build up this team in near future. So thank